Hi, I'm Leslie Garske, owner of Garske Divorce Mediation and Financial Analysis. I also have an investment advisory practice called Next Chapter Wealth Strategies. I like to say I'm all things financial when it comes to divorce. And I commend you for being here today. I'm glad that you're learning about the different ways you can divorce and how it works here in Colorado and what you might be entitled to and some of the pitfalls that you want to watch out for. So great job by getting empowered with information today. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I'm hoping this is the last time I have to record this video because I've been having a few chances here. So anyway, I can help people in several different ways when it comes to your finances in divorce. Now, hopefully you've already heard the attorney's presentation. We've got fantastic attorneys. I encourage you to get a lot of information from them and use them if you need to use an attorney and have an attorney represent you. We have fantastic attorneys, so I can't say enough good stuff about them. I also work well with them. So if you are using an attorney, how I can help is that a lot of times a spouse will have a highly compensated spouse will have a complex compensation package. So they might have restricted stock units, they might be having other stock awards, a pension, things that might not be super easy to understand. And that's where I can come alongside you and help you understand all the different things that should be negotiated during the divorce. I also can help when people have lots of different properties and how they might divide those up, what the tax consequences might be. And then of course, pensions, I said that a minute ago, but the pensions also have a different value than what might be on a statement. So I do value pensions a lot when it comes to attorneys, the attorney route, because there's a lot that goes into their process. So anyway, I can totally come alongside you if you would like help. Another way that you want to be wary of, if you're up against retirement, if you're 50 plus, another thing you might look at in your divorce, especially in your attorney, you want to remind your attorney that, hey, retirement is important to me. Maybe equalizing income in retirement is something that your attorney can look at. And if that's an argument or something that is important and legally acceptable, right, then I can run projections on that. So those are ways I can help you if you do have an attorney. Once you're done with your attorney and you guys are finished with the process, then I can also help you with retitling accounts, helping you do rollovers if you're getting certain retirement accounts and you want investment advice on how best to get set up for retirement. That's a whole other way I can help you after your divorce. So that's the legal realm and how I work in that space. But what I really try to offer is a route for amicable couples to sit down and go through some of those critical decision-making discussions that they should when it comes to divorce. Because my biggest warning, I guess, or biggest thing I want to get out there is that the do-it-yourselfers, which you might be thinking, oh, my husband and I, we're just going to do it ourselves. We're going to do divorce really well. We're going to, I want to bow out of this marriage gracefully, and I just don't want to have a lot of conflict or arguing, and we're going to do this. And I think that's great. I commend you on that. The one of the biggest pitfalls, though, that people run into is because they want to get along and not have any fighting or contention, you skirt around a lot of the more significant issues. And sometimes not enough details get discussed, whereas the agreement becomes a little bland or a little vague. And your expectation of what splitting the house might be in 5 years down the road when the kids are out of school, and your husband's or your wife's idea might be what splitting the house, 50-50 might be a lot different. So what my job is to take you through a process to tackle some of those more difficult conversations that require a lot of details. And that will be really how you divide your assets and debts, exactly what you're going to do with retirement assets, your house, and the details on a parenting plan if you've got kids. So I'll talk a little bit about our process, but that's really where I think people can go wrong, even though it's a great intention to do things without attorneys. We're getting along. We don't want to spend a lot of money on that, but you really might need someone to come alongside you and kind of walk you through some of these discussions on the things you might not know, because you've only done this once, hopefully, right? That you might not know to look under that rock or to cross that T or to dot that I. So our process, I break it down into about 4 different meetings. It is called divorce mediation, what I do, but the courts require everyone to go through mediation when you're in a divorce situation. Now, the attorney mediation is going to look a lot different than what I do. And what they have is, generally speaking, they'll have an attorney and one party in one room, and the other attorney and the other party in, so the husband and his attorney in one room, the wife and her attorney in the other room, and a mediator shuttles back and forth and helps you guys come to an agreement by the end of the day on hopefully all the things in your divorce: your house, your kids, the retirement assets, the cars, all the division of property. All of that usually is decided in one day. How my process differs is, what we do is we break that one day mediation into 4 different meetings. So there's just little bits that you bite off and digest and decide on or think about, and then we take on the next. So the first meeting is about assets and debts, and we go through what's marital, what marital debts and assets do you have versus the separate property. And if you need legal advice on that, we certainly send you to an attorney to get legal advice on like an unbundled or coaching basis. And then you come back to the table with that legal information to be able to discuss and know what the courts would look at, how they would view that certain issue on maybe marital or separate property. So anyway, that is the first meeting. We also look at in that meeting about where you're going to live, because it's really important to me that you're set up for success after this process, right? You got to have somewhere to live that you can afford and you're going to be happy with, and it's not just a stopgap. Well, I'm going to move out and then I'll figure that out later. No, not in our process. You're going to find out how you're going to afford your new place, where you're going to live. Do you need to have money down? Can you buy a house? All of these factors are really important to me, that you are set up, both of you are set up for success on the other side. And it takes some discussing, and it takes some research, and it takes some homework. So the first person we get involved is probably the realtor. We've got great realtors. I encourage you to use the experts on our team. They're all really compassionate and they're very knowledgeable. And our realtors are great. They know where some great places are to live. They've got their finger on the pulse of the market here in Denver. They understand what values are, and they can help you value your home. So there's definitely a need to get a realtor involved. And then we also want to get a mortgage lender involved. And so we only use certified divorce lending professionals in my practice. And so we've got some great resources out there, and please feel free to use our experts in this group. But the mortgage lender is key, because they're going to help us figure out, can you buy your spouse out of the home that you own now? Or should your spouse buy you out? Or should you sell? And if you sell, what can you afford to buy? Because most people want to be homeowners, but there's a lot that goes into that. You've got to have the right income, you've got to have the right amount of debt, right? Or the least amount of debt, and you've got to be able to qualify with credit. So we get a mortgage lender involved early on in the process to help us with all of these different scenarios. So the first meeting is about those different scenarios. The second meeting is about income. And I tell you, that meeting can be a breeze if we have 2 salaried employees that are going through the divorce, like 2 teachers, because that's an easy number. We know what their salary is every month. Where the challenge comes in is when you've got someone who's either self-employed or they are on commission. So if you're self-employed or on commission, your income fluctuates. So we've got to figure out what is a fair amount to use for your income, not only for your sworn financial statement and for your budget for your future and for qualifying for the house, but maybe for the maintenance calculation. Maybe there will be maintenance paid, but this number is going to be very important when it comes to the maintenance calculation, which I'm sure the attorneys will explain that it's a guideline. Nothing's locked in stone. You can have more maintenance or less maintenance, but the income number for both parties is going to be very important to be putting into a maintenance or a child support calculation. So we'll definitely go through past tax returns, what that self-employed person or commission person is making now. Is it trending up? What's the future look like? So that's a pretty in-depth discussion if we do have a self-employed or commission-based person with whose income fluctuates. We also have the other side of things is that if there's a spouse who's either been unemployed due to disability or health concerns, or maybe COVID, they've lost their job. And what are we going to do about that? Can they go back to work? Do they need more training? Is there maybe an at-home mom or dad that's been at home and that has worked really, really well for the family, and now they're going to need to work? So do they need new training? What are they going to do? What job skills do they have? I actually have excellent resources for people in that category who want to know, what should I do? What would be a good career for me now? What kind of jobs are out there? So that is a big discussion. If you're in those categories, that's not just that straight salary, but you're in those other categories. We spend a lot of time trying to help you understand and help each other understand what's realistic. Can you really go from not making anything for 3 years to making $100,000 a year? Maybe not. So we want to just get you set up again for success on the other side of this divorce. So we talk about income. We also talk about expenses, living expenses, and especially if you have children, how are you going to pay for their expenses? Because as the attorneys will tell you, the child support calculation is based on income and overnights, but it really just covers room and board. It doesn't really cover cell phones and car insurance and soccer and football and haircuts maybe. I mean, this is where we decide kind of what are the expenses that you guys are spending right now on your kids, and how should we divide that up, and how should they be paid, and what should the expectation be? Because I've done my job well if you guys have everything set up on autopilot. The last thing I want is for you guys to be haggling every month over, okay, I put out $60 for some soccer, the soccer registration, and oh, well, I just paid for a haircut, and I did buy a winter coat last week, whatever. And you're constantly haggling about receipts or money or just, that kind of stuff. I really want you guys to be on autopilot. So when you're dropping off your kids or when you see each other, it's just, hey, here you go. Because everything else has already been discussed. You're not wondering who's going to pick up or who's going to pay for what. So that's the second meeting. And the third meeting kind of dovetails off of this whole expectation. The third meeting, if you have kids, is all about parenting, the parenting plan. And I've worked with so many families trying to figure out creative ways to make different schedules work, and how it can be where both parents can see their kids and get their homes set up to have both kids there and make it fun and make holidays now some new traditions, of course, keeping old, but talking about all of these things are the details that sometimes people shy away from. They'll say, oh, we're going to figure it out. We're getting along great about the kids. Yeah, we're on the same page. Well, is it really that way if you're the one always driving? Always the one driving to the other spouse's house? Or should we break it up? Shouldn't we say, okay, this is who's going to drive to these things. This is another person that's going to drive. Or how far away can I move in my new life? And if I am going to move a half hour away, who should be doing that driving? Is it okay to be moving a half hour away? Is that too much time in the car for the kids? Those are the kind of things we discuss. And so everyone has a set expectation, because really we want to make sure that your kids are not involved in a lot of these decisions, and not involved in, hey, call your dad, tell him to pick you up this afternoon. I really can't make it. Or, or hey, mom, why don't you see if your mom can buy that for you? Because I don't really have any money right now. Or you really don't want those things to be on your kids. You want to be that united front, even though you're divorcing. The best thing you can do for your kids is to have clear set expectations for each other during this process, and then abide by them later, so the kids are not caught in the middle of any of this. And I've seen that over the years, and it's just really, really hard on the kids. And what we do in the process is we'll go through holidays, how to figure out summers or vacations. And what I encourage everyone to do is print that holiday schedule out and leave it in your desk somewhere handy, so when you're planning Christmas or Thanksgiving, when you're going to have the kids and what time drop-offs are. So when you're making plans with other family members, you can say, yeah, well, I'm going to have the kids until noon, so we want to, get things done in the breakfast, during brunch or something like that. So that's the third meeting. The fourth meeting is really when we finalize the deal. So it's hard to say yes or no to one thing when it depends on so many other things. So should I keep the house? Well, maybe if you have the right amount of income to qualify for a mortgage that will buy your spouse out, and are they going to be able to have enough money taken out of the house to buy their own house? And there's so many different things. So that last meeting is where we really gathered all the information, and you're going to be able to make an informed decision on what you're saying yes and what you're saying no to in the divorce. And so once our process is complete, we provide you the mediated separation agreement, the mediated parenting plan, the certificates of compliance, and the sworn financial statements. Those are things that you'll need to file for divorce. You will also, at that last meeting, bring in your pro se paperwork, and you can fill it out there. And then once you've got all those documents filled out, you'll take them down to the courthouse and file for divorce. 91 days later, you're going to be divorced. So we've really gone through the entire divorce process, and we've waited to file the paperwork at the end. And the reason why we do that is because it gives you enough time without any pressure of court deadlines, or and leaves a lot of options open as well during this process. So you can separate your bank accounts, you can buy another house, you can refinance the mortgage during this process. And then once you're done making these decisions, then you file for divorce, and you're done. And really, you might need the divorce decree to divide a pension or divide a qualified plan, and I can explain more about that another time. But that's really how it works. And I know when you do use attorneys, the attorneys are going to have you file your petition right away, and there's a lot of legal ramifications in filing the petition right away that can be beneficial and protect you. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just our process is usually different in that we will not file the paperwork till the end. If you've already filed though, and you want to use our process, that's fine. We totally get around that. But that's generally how our process works, a good example. And then again, once you're done with the process, if you need help in that next chapter with investments and investment allocations and rolling over IRAs and things like that, I can assist at that point. But during our mediation process, I am your neutral party mediator, helping you figure out how to advocate for yourself during the process. I can give you an idea sometimes of what the court may or may think, but we really want to get legal advice when needed from the attorneys. And so I encourage you to use our whole team. And we talk a little about realtor, mortgage lender, and the divorce attorneys. But health insurance, property and casualty insurance is super important, as well as what Tara's going to speak about, and that's your mental well-being. And I love her talk. But anyway, thank you for listening to me. I hope this is the last time that I have recorded this video, and it will be good enough. So I encourage you to take me up on my 20-minute phone call, or schedule a 90-minute initial consultation. You can go to my website, www.garskemediation.com, to learn more about the different services that I offer and how to schedule your own phone call. If you'd like to talk to me on Monday or Tuesday next week, I'll be back in town then. All right, thank you for your patience listening to this video, and good luck with all the things that you're going through right now. Make sure to take care of yourself.